Quick emergency headlines before the intro. This is not a normal model update. Anthropic says the U.S. government has issued an export control directive that blocks access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 by foreign nationals, whether they are outside the United States or physically inside the United States. Reports say that even foreign national Anthropic employees are covered by the restriction. The practical result is bigger than a country filter. Anthropic says it has had to disable Fable 5 and Mythos 5 for all customers to ensure compliance. So the headline is not just a model got pulled. The headline is, Frontier AI may now be treated more like a controlled national security asset than a normal software product. We are going to break down what happened, who is affected, what the government seems worried about, what Anthropic is arguing back, and why this could become one of the biggest AI policy moments of the year.
Powered by artificial intelligence.
Here is the clean timeline. Fable 5 had just become the public-facing version of Anthropic's Mythos class capability. Mythos 5 was the more restricted version, aimed at a narrower group because of cybersecurity concerns. Then, late Friday, Anthropic says it received a U.S. government directive. Axios reports that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick sent a letter to Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei saying Mythos 5 and Fable 5 would be subject to export controls. The reported scope is broad. Export, re-export, or domestic transfer involving the models would require a license, including access by foreign persons inside the United States. That last part matters. This is not simply people outside America cannot log in. In export control language, sharing controlled technology with a foreign national inside the U.S. can count as a deemed export. That is why the reported order is so disruptive. If a company has foreign national engineers, researchers, contractors, enterprise customers, or internal testers, it cannot just geofence by country and move on. AP reports Anthropic took the models offline to comply. Wired reports Anthropic said the letter did not provide specific details of the national security concern. So the public does not yet have the actual government letter. We have Anthropic's statement and reporting from Axios, AP, Wired, and Business Insider. That means we should be precise. The restriction is being reported as an export control directive. The exact legal reasoning and classified or non-public evidence behind it are still not public. The affected group is the part that makes the story feel surreal. If the order only blocked access from foreign countries, Anthropic could try country-level controls, enterprise account controls, and cloud region rules. But reports quote Anthropic saying the directive covers any foreign national, whether inside or outside the United States, including foreign national Anthropic employees. That means a non-U.S. engineer sitting in San Francisco could be treated differently from a U.S. citizen sitting at the next desk, at least for these models. This is why Anthropic says it disabled Fable 5 and Mythos 5 for all customers. It is the blunt compliance option. When the rule is broad, fast, and unclear, the safest operational response is often to shut the product down while legal, compliance, identity, and access control teams figure out the edge cases. Business Insider reports that access to Anthropic's other models is not affected. That detail matters for users. Claude as a product is not dead. Anthropic as a company is not banned. The restriction is focused on Fable 5 and Mythos 5. But the precedent could matter far beyond those two model names. If one frontier model can be pulled under export control logic, every frontier lab has to ask, what would make our next model controlled, who decides, and how much warning do we get? To understand why this is an emergency story, you need the model background. Anthropic's earlier announcement framed Fable 5 as a Mythos-class model. Above the older top tier, built for difficult reasoning, coding, science, and long autonomous work. Mythos 5 was the more restricted version. According to reporting, Mythos had been limited because of powerful cybersecurity capabilities, while Fable 5 was supposed to be the safer public-facing version with guardrails. This is where the contradiction gets interesting. Anthropic has spent a lot of time telling the world that some advanced models need special handling. That is part of its brand. responsible scaling, frontier safety, controlled deployment, and a more cautious posture around dangerous capabilities. But now the government appears to be saying, effectively, we agree this is sensitive enough to control, and we are going to control it ourselves. The problem is process. Anthropic is not saying governments should never block unsafe deployments. The company's argument, as quoted by AP and Wired, is that the process should be transparent, fair, clear, and grounded in technical facts. Anthropic says this action does not meet that standard. So the fight is not simply safety versus freedom. It is company-led safety governance versus government-led national security control. So what is the government worried about? Based on Anthropic's statement as reported by Wired, Anthropic believes the concern is a way to bypass, or jailbreak, Fable 5. Wired reports Anthropic reviewed a demonstration of that technique being used to identify a small number of previously known, minor vulnerabilities. Anthropic's counterargument is that the vulnerabilities appeared relatively simple, and that other publicly available models could discover them without the same bypass. That is a huge claim because it goes directly to the standard being used. If the model revealed genuinely novel, high-impact exploit capability, the case for urgent government action is stronger. If the model merely found minor known bugs that other models can also find, then the restriction looks overbroad and inconsistent. The public does not yet have enough information to settle that debate. We do not have the government's technical evidence. We do not have the letter. We do not know whether there is classified context. What we do know is that cyber capability is now one of the main fault lines in AI policy. A model that can write code is useful. A model that can audit code is useful. A model that can discover vulnerabilities is useful for defenders. But the same capability can help attackers if the safeguards fail. That dual-use problem is exactly why this story moved from product launch to national security emergency in a matter of days. Anthropic's response is the most important part of the story. The company is not taking a simple anti-regulation line. According to AP, Anthropic said it believes the government should have the ability to block unsafe deployments as part of a statutory process that is transparent, fair, clear, and grounded in technical facts. Then Anthropic says this action does not adhere to those principles. That is a very careful argument. Anthropic is saying, yes, there should be a mechanism for dangerous models. But no, this is not how that mechanism should work. The company also argues that a narrow potential jailbreak should not be enough to recall a commercial model deployed to a very large user base. Wired reports Anthropic said that if the same standard were applied across the industry, it could essentially stop new model deployments from frontier providers. Whether you agree with Anthropic or not, that is the crux. If the standard is no jailbreak is allowed, then no frontier AI product ships. If the standard is only catastrophic and unique capabilities trigger restrictions, then the government needs to show why this model crosses that threshold. The emergency is not just that Fable 5 got pulled. The emergency is that the industry may be entering a world where model releases can be reversed quickly, based on government evidence the public cannot inspect. The bigger picture is that export controls are moving up the stack. For years, the obvious control point was hardware, GPUs, advanced chips, data center capacity, and cloud access. That made sense because compute is physical, measurable, and easier to track at borders. But this story points directly at model access. Not just the chip used to train the model, not just the data center hosting it, but the model itself as a controlled capability. That changes the operating reality for AI companies. They may need nationality-aware access controls for employees, customers, contractors, red teamers, support teams, and enterprise admins. They may need audit trails showing exactly who accessed which model, from where, under what license, and for what use. They may need emergency model kill switches. They may need contract language that says a model can disappear overnight because of export control action. It also changes the conversation for developers outside the United States. If the best models become nationality-gated, International teams may have to use older models, domestic alternatives, open-weight systems, or locally hosted models. That could accelerate open-source development and non-US model ecosystems. Could also create fragmentation. One AI stack for US persons, another for allies, another for everyone else, and lots of legal gray areas in between. Now the practical part. If you were using Fable 5 or Mythos 5, the first step is boring but necessary. Identify every workflow that depended on them. Coding agents, security review pipelines, research assistants, internal tools, customer support workflows, evaluation harnesses, anything. Write down what broke, what model can replace it, and what quality gap appears. Second, check data and compliance assumptions. If your company used the model in a regulated workflow, you need to know whether requests failed, were rerouted, or simply became unavailable. If a fallback model is used, verify the fallback's data retention and privacy terms. The worst move is silently replacing one model with another and assuming the governance profile stayed the same. Third, stop treating model names as permanent infrastructure. Build abstraction layers. Keep evaluation sets. Keep cost dashboards. Keep security review. Keep a fallback plan. This story is a reminder that frontier models are not just software dependencies. They are geopolitical dependencies. If a regulator can pull a model, your production system needs to degrade gracefully rather than panic. Here is what to watch next. First, does the government publish a clearer technical justification? Right now, the public version of the story is thin. National security may be a real concern, but the standard matters. If the evidence is narrow, vague, or inconsistent with how other models are treated, the backlash will grow. Second, does Anthropic restore access? The company says it wants to resolve the misunderstanding and restore access as soon as possible. That could mean a license, a narrower access control system, a patched version of Fable 5, extra safeguards, or a negotiated trusted user program. Could also mean litigation if the company believes the government overstepped. Third, watch the other labs. OpenAI, Google, xAI, Meta, Mistral, Cohere, DeepSeek, and open-source communities are all going to read this as a release risk signal. If frontier models can be restricted based on cyber capability, then every future model card, demo, safety report, and marketing claim becomes part of a political and regulatory record. My take. This is bigger than Fable 5. This is the moment AI access started to look less like a subscription plan and more like controlled infrastructure. That does not mean every restriction is wrong. It means the rules need to be clear, technical, fast, and reviewable. Otherwise, the world gets the worst version of AI governance. Sudden shutdowns, confused users, unclear evidence, and a race to build around the rules instead of building safer systems.